Hello and welcome back to Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica. Hey guys, today I am talking to you. It's just going to be me today, talking to you about what you can do at Halloween to help improve your psychic abilities, your connection to your ancestors, your magical connection, and just overall what you can do at Halloween, which is also Samhain, which is the fire festival, the Celtic New Year, essentially. And All Hallows Eve, which is also All Saints Day on November 1st. And then it is also Dia de los Muertos in the Spanish tradition and the Mexican tradition in Hispanic-speaking countries, which is about honoring the Day of the Dead when all of your ancestors can be contacted because the veil is believed to be thinnest. So, hey, let's talk a little bit first about the tradition behind it, the history behind it. Halloween is the easiest way to refer to it because that's the name that most people associate with it. As I said, Samhain is a fire festival. It is believed that Halloween kind of Samhain is the origin story for Halloween. Is going to be the easiest way to put that. In the Celtic tradition and in a lot of pagan traditions, October 31st is considered New Year because as we head into the fall seasons and into the winter season, when the land is like lying fallow, when it's allowed to rest, when it's allowed to recuperate, that is considered the release of the old energies before you. And it is the perfect time of year to do release work. But it's also a really good time to do work on strengthening your connection both to your guides and to your ancestors, and also to your own psychic abilities. So I'm going to be releasing this right around the beginning of October. And what you can do heading into that is make sure, and why does almost everything that I do start with please clean first? It's because it is a way to get energy moving in your home environment, in your own energetic field. It is releasing that which no longer serves you and the things that you're trying to release at what is really ideally treated as the beginning of a new cycle, the beginning of a new year, the resolution of the work that you've done in the previous year as well. So different traditions have different rituals behind them. And I'm going to be talking very particularly about what I do for celestial and angelic magic. And part of the reason that I'm doing that is because it does translate into kind of a universal approach to a practice around All Hallows or Halloween or Samhain, in order to be able to connect best with those who came before you, who contain your ancestral knowledge and your ancestral magic. And it can be difficult when you have a difficult backstory with your family. Please understand that those who have gone before you in their spirit form, they're the most idealized form of themselves, meaning that the darker side of them, the shadow aspect, the humanity that held them back, their lesser aspect or their lesser nature, there's karma remaining from it. And sometimes our ancestors remain behind to try and resolve that earthly karma so that they don't carry it forward, so that they can release it before their next incarnation. So they're often here to help us with that. But that is the best part of them, the divine part of them that remains behind trying to help. And so when you're trying to approach ancestor work, because I deal with so many people who have trauma issues, that it can become really challenging to be like, well, you know, they carried forward generational trauma. There was a lot of drug addiction or a lot of abuse, or please don't judge your ancestors by what they got wrong. And remember that everything that you like about yourself is made possible because they were your ancestors. And we have both ancestors of the blood and ancestors of the energy, because if you believe in reincarnation at all, it means that you have different types of lifetimes, that you have been in different familial lines. And so your ancestors are not just the people that you may have photographs of or show up in a genealogy chart. So when it comes to the pagan practices of things like Samhain around the work that is done in the fire festival, being translated into the more religious traditions that are frequently observed in major religions, Halloween does not necessarily translate into that. Halloween in a lot of belief systems, or Samhain in a lot of belief systems, is considered a day where it may, in fact, evil is said to be very prevalent, partially because of the connection to those who have passed before. Since there are spirit connections available to us around Halloween, some of the religions who do not believe that anything can remain after death have kind of decided that Halloween is evil. It's not, you know, as with almost anything, it is going to be what you make of it. So heading into it in the weeks beforehand, in the month of October, as you try to strengthen your connection to your psychic ability and your ability to be guided, here's where that please clean comes in. Get rid of any clutter in your home. Do a thorough cleaning. Heck, rearrange your furniture if you really want things to get moving and to get rid of a lot of the work you've done beforehand, because we're always on a journey to make more progress, both for our soul's path and for our powerful path. And one of the ways to do this, it is both symbolic and then also it really does just get your energy moving. Do like they used to do spring cleanings, do one that's centered around Halloween. And it can take place over the course of a couple of weeks or a few weeks so that you're not overwhelming yourself. So you're preparing yourself by releasing the energies, which is part of what you're asking your ancestors to help with. It's preparing your energetic space to be, I kind of want to say, void as you're heading into Samhain or Halloween or All Hallows, so that there is less interference from essentially the burdens or the baggage that you have carried throughout the course of the year. So cleaning helps with that. And there is a video on my YouTube channel that has a recipe for a clearing spray that does not contain Palo Santo or sage. Remember, those are both endangered and they are integral to other religious practices. So whenever possible, try to respect the need of someone's faith practice first, and you'll simply get better results because, you know, karmically, it's just a better deal. But do a clearing with whatever you're choosing to. And if you're like, no, really only sage works for me, cool. That's like, if you feel guided to that, that's cool. If you feel guided to Palo Santo, that's cool. The reason to go towards something alternative really does have to do with them both being endangered, which means that sooner or later they're going to run out. So it's a good idea to have your backup of juniper or of rosemary. Lavender is another one. Juniper's amazing. Juniper does a really, really good job. So you do full clearing energetically and then materially. And then as you prepare on the actual day of October 31st, what you're going to want to do, and this is again working with the celestial and angelic tradition, but it's a bit of a universal approach. Whatever it is that you want to manifest in the coming year, whatever it is that you're hoping the next year of your life, keeping in mind that, again, it is considered New Year's Eve in a lot of pagan traditions, and also in celestial and angelic magic, what you want the next year to look like. So you want to set up what's called the simmer pot. Now, a simmer pot is to fill the energy of your home with what you are trying to create. You can either start with a base of water, of wine, or of juice. And I frequently will use apple cider, but if I don't have that on hand, I will use purified water that I bless, empower, and activate to imbue the coming year with the energy that I am trying to manifest. And how do you bless, empower, and activate? You hold your dominant hand, which for me is my right hand. I'm slightly ambidextrous, but I'm like more competent with my right hand. And you either hold it over or around a vessel of water. It does not need to be purified water, but if you have that available, that's awesome. And you call out to whatever it is you're working with. So for me, I would say my guides, my guardians, my ancestors, and my angels, with the help of the angels who guard the four directions, I bless, empower, and activate this water to imbue my space with the energy that I am trying to create and what I am trying to manifest. Now, instead of saying what I'm trying to manifest, I would be saying it might be abundance, it might be spiritual clarity, it might be better business, it might be better relationships, friendships, more peace, whatever it is that you're trying to activate the water to help you accomplish, that is what you would say in that particular space. And then what you're going to want to do with that liquid, again, I'm usually using apple cider because, like most fruits that have multiple seeds in them, they're very good for creating abundant energy. So I use the apples, or you can use actual physical apples. Weirdly, I actually suggest that you use like Pink Ladies or Gala apples or something other than Granny Smith apples. And the reason being is that Granny Smith have a tendency to be tart, and it does bring in a more, like, it can be a little bit more abrasive. So go more towards a sweeter variety of apple. And you would cut those up into quarters. I do personally remove the seeds. And I'm also, when I'm working with cider, I still add apples. I also add oranges, which are one of the fruits for abundance as well, and they add a sweetness to life. You can use cherries if you're interested in producing more love. You can use strawberries, but it's going to make a really murky liquid. You don't drink it or anything. You do actually, when you're using cider, you can ladle up a cup of hot cider at the end of it, which is part of the reason that I do that, to offer to the ancestors. You start that at the beginning of the day. You bring it to a gentle boil and then drop it to a simmer. Put in your fruits, whatever it might be, what you're trying to manifest, and then you put in your spices. And it's going to be a good idea to use whole spices because you're going to have it simmering throughout the course of the day, and your home will smell wonderful. If you are trying to release difficult energies, difficult attachments, or to resolve old attachments, feel free to add only the rind of a lemon, which you can take off with a potato peeler. That will help detach energies. You can also use cranberries as well, which are also something that help detach. For spices, cloves are about dominating in a field, so they help give you better business success. They are also one of the abundant spices. So are cinnamon. Cinnamon's particularly good for money and anything that you wish to have rapidly manifest in your world. It's about passion and drive as well, so it can be good for creativity. Cinnamon helps make things happen, and again, it'll make your home smell really, really good. If you're trying to drive away darker energies, add some star anise, which is one of the things that you can use for clearing as well. You can grind that up and burn it on an incense disc. That's another form of clearing. But in order to have something be in a grounded energy, add something that is grounding. Star anise is one of the things that you can add to your simmer pot to achieve that. You can add bay leaves for luck. You can also add cardamom is one of the spices you can use for love. Juniper berries are one of the things that you can add as well. And remember, you are not ingesting this. If you're like me, you would ladle up a cup of it as part of your ancestor offering, which I will get to in a few minutes after I finish talking about your big simmer pot. Everything that you're putting into that is what you are trying to manifest, the energy you're trying to make sure, the interaction that you're going to have with your guides, your guardians, or your ancestors, that it's imbued with that energy. This is the energy that you're inviting into your home, that you're trying to permeate throughout your home in order to have a better experience. And it's good if you're not going to be home all day, then you start it when you get home from work. But it is a good idea to have it start not at daybreak, but when the sun is up, and then continue through as the sun goes down. And then sometime after midnight is when you would want to take that off. You can ladle something out of it to use as part of your offering. So that's the magical stew pot that you want to get started on All Hallows on October 31st. In order to help bring that energy into the coming year. As you are resting, you are meant to be resting in that energy so that it builds up and it strengthens and it becomes more readily available to you. In the evening, after the sun has set, and like some areas of the world, we're going to have trick-or-treaters, some areas you won't. Don't worry, none of this is so intensive that you can't be answering the door. You want to set up your altar space, and it can be a table if you don't have a dedicated altar. I obviously have a dedicated altar, but if you don't, put it on something fire safe because there will be 2 forms of intention candle that you want to light. If you're working in a monotheistic practice, then you only need 1 candle, but I have one for the feminine divine and for the divine masculine as well. And so I have one for the feminine aspect and for the masculine aspect. And then I also have a candle, a third one, and I get all of mine from Crystal Healing Journeys. I like the ones that are imbued with Reiki. I still smoke cleanse them, which is to remove the energies of someone who isn't me. Smoke cleansing your tools and magic is one of the things that will help you get a better result. And I always liken it to preparing for surgery. You don't want anybody else's stuff infecting you. So you prepare all of your candles, all of your tools, all of the dishes by having some incense where you just kind of like hold the object over the incense to smoke cleanse it. The same thing with candles. With the candles, you can carve your name and birth date on them 3 times. You don't have to, but you can. It's a funny thing that I actually use a Ring doorbell screwdriver to do candle carving because it's just perfect in the weight and it does carve into it very easily. That's actually the tool that I recommend for people is go to a drugstore, get one of those eyeglass repair kits. Those little tiny screwdrivers are perfect for carving candles because it will dig into the wax, but the knife won't hurt you. The weight's perfect. It's not too weighted on the top. You can use a pen, but the pen usually gets ruined. So that's why, and I do enough candle carving. You can carve it with the symbols of what you're trying to attract as well. And this is going to be for the third candle, which is for me going to be the angelic influence candle, but it can also stand in for your ancestral influence. So you have the feminine and the masculine candles that are both just, I light this, you would bless it and activate it as you're lighting it. So for me, because I do work with the figures from the Christian religion, even if I don't practice the Christian religion, I practice a form of Enochian magic. I'd say in the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, and with the help of the angels who guard the four corners, I light this candle and I ask for the power of the feminine divine to be made ready for me and to join me in this practice. And then I do the same thing for the masculine energy, but I use the word, for the masculine energy of the masculine divine to join me and to aid me in this practice. Your third candle is the one that is for your ancestors or your angels. For me, I am working with the angels who guard the four corners, which is the east for air is the Archangel Gabriel, the west for water is the Archangel Raphael, the south for fire, I use the Archangel Uriel, although it can also be the Archangel Ariel, and then the north from earth, which is the Archangel Michael. And then I also call out to the Archangel Metatron, who's very skilled at protecting your psychic eye. And that is the candle you would wish to carve with your name and your birth date and any symbols that you would like to have the coming year help you manifest. So heart for love, dollar signs, or Europeans, euro signs. You can also have any forms of like a small thing for justice. You can carve little scales into it. You can carve all kinds of things into it, just the word as well. Prosperity, abundance, security, friendship, community, any of these things. And then I would personally anoint it with an abundance oil. And I get I did a full episode on magic shops that I recommend. I do make some of my own oils and some of my own powders. And so I use those in terms of this particular, because it has a lot of significance. You're supposed to be able to contact your ancestors very directly that day. So I use ones that I have created, but I would use abundance oil. And then there's something called green fairy oil that one of my favorite magic shops, Inexplicable Things, sells. And that will help strengthen your ability to communicate both with spirits in general, but your ancestors in particular. If you do not have conjure oils available to you, that is absolutely fine. You can use olive oil is the universal one for anointing, but you can also use almond oil, which is good for both prosperity and for love. You can get those usually at most beauty shops. They sell it as a massage oil as well. And the way that you anoint is you put a few drops into the palm of your non-dominant hand. You rub it together with your dominant hand. Usually you're going to clap your hands in order to activate it, to get the energy flowing. And then it's pretty phallic looking, but you anoint your candles with it, going up to the sky, to the angels, taking it down to the earth to ground it, and then at the very bottom of it to root it in this reality. And then you light that candle in the same way that you did your feminine divine and your divine masculine energy. Now, if you're like, hey, I don't really even have the money for 3 candles, the most important one is the one for your ancestors. And then you want to prepare an offering. One of the things that you want to do is be very comfortable with speaking to what you are trying to connect with as you're trying to connect. So you can talk to your ancestors, those who came before me in the energy and those who came before me in my family. And I thank you for the gifts that you have given me. I understand and I honor your contributions to who I am and what I am working with. This is not a time to be like, hey, and thanks for that tendency I have towards having a terrible temper. We all have burdens to bear and things to unpack during this lifetime. They did too. A lot of times they didn't do so well with it. This is a day about celebrating the parts of you that you honor and appreciate that were given to you by those who came before you. And so you will talk to them about the things that you appreciate that they did, the battles that they went through, the struggles that they also faced as you were doing that. For an offering, what you want to do is you can have your offering be related to what you are trying to bring towards you in the coming year. So for me, because almost everybody in my family had a sweet tooth, a lot of people in my family actually had addiction issues. And so that translate best with sugar. Because those who are no longer incarnate don't really remember being physical, but they remember pleasure easiest. And so you want to remind them of something pleasurable, something opulent. A nice sweet bread, like a form of brioche, can be a very nice thing, drizzled with some honey or some maple syrup. If you're going simpler with that, I usually bake a cake. You can make something in your genetic tradition. So, like, because my mother is actually from Scotland, I may make something like a trifle. Because now I haven't done that frequently. I almost always simply bake a cake. And you serve it with a beverage that is either strong brewed coffee or a tea, an herbal tea that is about what you're trying to manifest. So I have like a positive energy one that I use very frequently in my offerings, because I do offerings throughout the course of almost every week, particularly on Sundays and on Mondays, because Mondays are the day that is most closely related to the moon, which is another one of the energies that ties us to our ancestral magic, that's what you're trying to do. On this particular day, you're trying to connect with these spirits, sometimes to get messages, but mostly to honor those. And that's what Dia de los Muertos does. They have sugar skulls and they have an entire tradition. It's not part of my tradition, so I'm not going to be able to speak intelligently about it very often. But that's what it's about, is making offerings to those who suffered so that you could live, is essentially what it is. When we're talking about what you're trying to manifest, have the offering related to that. If you are in particular trying to contact a particular spirit and they had a particular fondness for chocolate, as a for instance, that could be something that you do. You can do vice-related offerings as well, which is like a shot of, make it sweet. Sweet is always one of the better things because you want it to be a sweet interaction. So you can make it like Grand Marnier, a sweet liqueur. Or a coffee liqueur, a sweet dessert wine can also be offered as well. You can drink some of it as well. I don't personally drink any longer. I only drink to celebrate. But I drink so infrequently that I just kind of consider myself a non-drinker at this point. So you can have that as part of your offering as well. And then what you wish to do when you're trying to connect more, and this is best done after you no longer anticipate anybody coming to the door and ringing the doorbell. Let those candles burn for a good 2 to 3 hours before you start this part, because you're trying to really strengthen that connection. You're going to want to take a spiritual shower or a spiritual bath. And what's contained in that is usually for spiritual bath, you're going to use a cup of sea salt and a cup of Epsom salt. If you can tolerate contact with essential oils, putting some lavender and rosemary in there for protection is perfect. You can use herbs as well, but you have to make sure that you have some sort of straining device so it doesn't just go down your drain. You can also do a cleansing bath, but a spiritual bath is where you get in clean. By the way, you've already taken a shower, so all the gooks off of you, whatever you might have had on you that day. And then you get in there and you have a candle in the bathroom with you as well that you have also blessed and empowered to connect you to your spiritual source, to your psychic source, and to your ancestors. You have that burning. Get in there for a good 20 minutes or so. You're going to want to dunk your head 2 or 3 times, by the way, because you do want all of your chakra points cleansed. You're going to rinse off with clean water after you get out. So once you're prepared, and I like to wear all natural clothing, so I always have something cotton available. I don't personally wear shoes, but some people believe in being skyclad. I get cold, so I always wear some cotton clothing, and natural fabric helps. If you have ritual robes, you can use those as well. If you feel like simply dressing up like you're going to a family gathering, that can also stand in for it. Make yourself as presentable as you might for a family gathering. I don't personally wear makeup when I do any forms of ritual because you want to show your true face, is what I have always been taught. But it doesn't truly matter. Some of these traditions that we offer and honor are really about what we feel most called to. And I'm always barefaced for that. Like I'm bare feet, barefaced. And after you're out of that spiritual bath, you're all dried off and your hair is rinsed and everything, you're going to go down to where the altar is. And did I just suggest that you leave candles burning? I personally do. I have a fire-safe altar. If it's not safe for you, you can put them out while you're in the spiritual shower or the bath, or you can do it before you set up your altar. I don't, because again, like, yes, I fully cop to it. I'm like very close by, but I do leave candles burning on my fire-safe altar. When you go back to it, you're going to want to shield and ground. And I'm going to teach you how to shield and ground really quickly. And this is my method. If your tradition calls for a different one, use yours. But some people don't know how to shield and ground, so I'm going to go into how to do it. You're going to stand with your arms out to your side ever so slightly. And there is a video of this on my YouTube channel, so I'm kind of demonstrating it. You stand with your palms facing up and your arms out to the side. And then you're going to close your eyes and you're going to imagine a white light coming down from the divine source. And it hits each chakra point. And as it does, you see the corresponding color light up. So your crown chakra is a violet color. Your third eye chakra is indigo blue. Your throat chakra is sky blue. Your heart chakra is green or bright pink, whichever you resonate with more. Solar plexus, which is right above your belly button just a little bit, is yellow. Sacral chakra, which is right below it, is orange. And then at the very tailbone, end of your spine, is your root chakra, which is bright red. So you're going to see the light coming down through there and linger at points that you feel like you need to. A lot of people need to linger around their throat chakra to get their ability to communicate, to speak freely, to express their creative energy, which is part of magic. You linger there until you really see the color in your mind's eye in a very vibrant capacity. Once you have that line going down through you, and I can do this like instantaneously almost, it's taking me much longer to describe it than to do it would be. Once you have that connection all the way down, then you're going to see that light column filling out the rest of your body, out into your body till you practically see it shooting out of your fingertips. So you're a body of white light with these lights down it in your mind's eye. Open your eyes and see that light coming out from you 2 feet, above you 2 feet, behind you 2 feet. Never forget underneath your feet, so that you're standing in a white egg of light. And then for me, I envision purple fire, which is divine fire. It is violet flame around me, encircling me at least up to my eye level. Personally, I see it all around it, all around the essentially white egg. And then you're going to envision roots coming out of the bottom of your feet. See yourself in a forest floor for the best grounding, and winding down almost like corkscrews into the earth. That's being shielded and grounded. Some practices will have you withdraw those roots. I don't personally. I've always found it better and more protective to simply envision the roots being there. Once you have that all set up, you're going to do what I'm going to teach you, the full celestial and angelic practice for calling the corners, which is I call to the guardians who guard the four corners to aid me and to protect me in this and all that I do. I call to the guardians who guard the four corners to aid me and to protect me in this and all that I do. I call to the guardians who guard the four corners to aid me and to protect me in this and all that I do. And I say thank you. And you say it 3 times. And then you're going to call to the east for air. And you stop for a moment and you envision air interacting with your environment. I call to the west for water. And you can see a stream or rainfall or a waterfall. I call to the south for fire, envision flame in any capacity that you wish. And I call to the north for earth. And I always tell people to envision a forest floor or the earth below them or the Grand Canyon. And you're going to do that 3 times as well. And then as you do that, I like to escalate the energy that I'm seeing. So the first time I might see, as I'm calling for air, I might see a gentle breeze. By the end of it, I might be envisioning a tornado because I work with a lot of serious forces. So by the 3rd time I'm calling them, I'm seeing it big and very, very active. And at the end of that 3rd one, you call to the east for air and the Archangel Gabriel. You call to the west for water and the Archangel Raphael. I call to the south for fire and the Archangel Uriel. I call to the north for earth and the Archangel Michael. And I call to the Archangel Metatron to protect my psychic eye, my consciousness in all spaces, in all dimensions, and throughout all time and space, to protect me and surround me with protection in this and all that I do. And that's grounding and shielding. And please do some form of protective practice before you reach for the spirit realm. Because what I'm always trying to get people to understand when they're reading tarot or doing any form of divination work or spirit board or anything else is that when you look at something, something can look back and it's not always what you're trying to contact. So you want to have that shielding practice in place to make sure that your energy is safe from anything that might try to attach to you. Once you have that in place, this is where it becomes your own, about what you wish to talk to your guides about, what you wish to talk to the spirits about, what you're trying to achieve in this. So as a for instance, I really am just going to keep using my stuff as an example to help people understand what you might be saying. I call to those who came before me. I thank you for all the gifts that you have given me. I forgive you for all the burdens that you may have left me with. And I understand your struggle as I understand my own. We live in harmony, and I ask for your aid in all that I am trying to do. Now, if you are then trying to make a better connection, I would like to receive messages from my ancestors after, as you concentrate on those candles and you've gone through the whole shielding and the calling and everything, you can go and sit quietly and meditate. You can drop into a meditative pose, or you can remain in front of the candles for this part, where you simply stop and you concentrate on your breath and you ask aloud. I speak everything aloud. There's something called speaking things into existence that's very important in magic. I speak aloud and I say, I open my heart, my mind, my body, and my soul to any interactions that you wish to have with me now. What would you like me to know? What would you like me to hear? And you stop and you try and clear your mind. Now, people with a lot of activity in their mind have a lot of trouble with that. So one of the things you can do is concentrate on your breath. You feel it coming in, going down through those chakra points. You have it, it's called belly breathing. It's a tradition in yoga where you fill it up, you feel it kind of extend your stomach a little bit, extend your chest a little bit, and you release. I like to count inhale 1, exhale 1. So 1, out 1, and then go up to 11 over and over again, which is that training wheel meditation practice that I always tell people about as they're trying to get a handle on how to meditate and how to connect. And you do that for as long as you wish. And by the way, if you don't, it's like, I didn't hear anything. My grandma didn't come and talk to me, even though I was asking to talk to her. Please understand it doesn't always work that way. There can be subconscious suggestions and implantations in those messages that you may not be aware of, but you will carry forward with. When you are done with that practice, it is a very good idea to get back in touch with whatever it is that is a family tradition for you, whether it's looking at photographs, whether it's reading a story that you used to be read at a particular holiday, something that allows you to be immersed in the energy of those who came before you as you honor those traditions. But again, you're asking for these energies, these spirits. Oh, and there's another thing that you can do for protection that can help is as you are finishing grounding, there is another phrase you can add, which is nothing evil may enter from within, nothing evil may enter from without. Nothing evil may enter from within, nothing evil may enter from without. The other thing that you can do is Psalm 91. And I always change the pronouns to I statements. So it's whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Surely He will save me from the fowler snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover me with His feathers, and under His wings I will find refuge. His faithfulness will be my shield and rampart. I will not fear the terror of the night, nor the hour that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at my side, 10,000 at my right hand, but it will not come near me. I will only observe with my eyes and see the punishment of the wicked. If I say the Lord is my refuge and I make the Most High my dwelling, no harm will overtake me, no disaster will come near my tent. For He will command His angels concerning me to guard me in all my ways. They will lift me up in their hands so that I will not strike my foot against a stone. I will tread on the lion and the cobra. I will trample the great lion and the serpent. Because she loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue her. I will protect her, for she acknowledges my name. I will be with her in trouble. I will honor her and keep her. With long life, I will satisfy her and show her my salvation. Amen. So that is Psalm 91. You do change the pronouns to be personal, but that's another way to invoke protection. By the way, what I just said should be able to protect you as well. And sooner or later, I will have a Patreon that will contain some protective mantras and things that will be available to you. But that is it, Psalm 91, and you change the pronouns to be about you. If it doesn't fit with your tradition, that's fine. It's fine to do an invocation for protection. I'm going to go close the door to make sure we don't hear the garbage trucks endlessly. And rather than pause, I just walked across the room and did that. Now I'm back. They were beeping and then they were unloading and there's all kinds of noise back there. But you want to invoke as much protection as possible in order to connect safely with the spirit world. And why is that? Because when you're trying to connect with the spirit world, trickster energy can come in. Most of the time when people think they're contacting something through a Ouija board, they're not. They're simply opening a portal to another dimensional space that has non-human entities in it. So this is why around Halloween, around Samhain, you want to do a ton of protective work before you try to connect. Some people, as they're meditating, like to do something called automatic writing, where you have a clean notebook, something that hasn't been used before, and you simply stop and allow it's asking for a form of channeling. And whatever it is you feel like writing, just let it flow, read it the next day. Don't try and make sense of it then. That is another way that you can receive guide messages. After all of this is done, after you have spent your time with honoring, with speaking to, with releasing the energy, and you can talk about what you're trying to release as well, after you spent your meditative time, if you want to do some automatic writing, I don't personally. I'm always just doing the honoring work since I do divination as like my living. I don't have to seek out a lot of guidance outside of the work that I do. It comes to me because I have a daily practice. But if you're doing this as an annual practice, it is actually a really good time to, after you've done the meditative part, where you simply sit and listen and allow yourself to be in an open and a receptive space. Do that for at least 10 minutes. 10 is one of the numbers for complete cycles. Then you can hold whatever deck you might be using, and I'm just grabbing the one that's near me, in your hands, bless and activate it as well. I bless, empower, and activate these, whether it's oracle cards or tarot cards, to give me the messages that my ancestors would like me to know. You hold it, you breathe, you envision, and then you shuffle and lay out the messages. It's also a good idea to take a picture of whatever draw or whatever spread that you are taking, simply because it will give you something to refer back to. You can also simply write down the cards. And it's about the year coming, whatever messages you would like me to know about my path, about what I will be facing in the coming year, what it is you would like me to assist you with, and what you plan to assist me with. And so those are all the practices around how to get the best connection on Samhain, All Hallows Eve, Halloween. Again, I can't really say it's the best one for Dia de los Muertos. It's just that I like to make sure that I mention it because it is part of an ancestor honoring tradition that is structured around the same holiday. When you are done with all of that, snuff out your candles. Do not blow them out. Blowing out something is ending a connection. It's using your intent. I always use the bowl of a spoon, or you can use a candle snuffer, or you can pinch them out. I don't like to pinch them out. So I always use a candle snuffer. Snuff them out when you are ready to retire for the evening, and always thank everything that you have called to you and tell it it can leave or it can stay, but that you ask that it interact with you only on your request. And that is one of the things that you can do as well, is you can release all that you have called to you, and this is how you would do it. And I would say, in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, I bless and release any any spirits, any forms, any entities, any energies that have been called to me today. I release you back to where you wish to go. You may stay if you wish to, but only interact with me when I ask for the interaction. Thank you. And that is the way that I do it. You can also remember, it's not the words that you say, it is the intent behind it. So if what I'm saying doesn't fit your practice, use the spirits, the figureheads, the gods or the goddesses that you do, and you can use something very similar to get similar results as well. You can use a pendulum if you like, but if you're going to use any form of divination What you can't see in this, and people listening to the audio can never see this part, but in the video, people can see that I have crystals on all four corners of my desk to create a consecrated space. Please remember that is another step you can take on your altar or in your meditative space to make sure that your energy is protected. And here's the thing, your answers are going to be for you, but remember the trickster energy to make sure that you're in a cleaned and a consecrated space. I taught you how to call for protection as well. And there's something else you need to know whenever you're trying to interact with a spirit entity, which is that it is not that you have to practice a religion. It has to be that you understand the intent of what it is you're calling upon. And if you call upon the energy of the Archangel Michael, in the Christian religion, the Archangel Michael fought the devil and won. And nothing can answer to the Archangel Michael's name except for the element of earth, the Archangel Michael. So remember that part. Whenever you're really like, I don't like the feeling here, some people will have you call to the figurehead of a religion such as Jesus Christ. But what you can really call to is the protective energy of the Archangel Michael to negate all forms of darkness and to imprison at the core of this reality for eternity, if need be, anything that is trying to attach to me or means me ill. I ask that I be surrounded by this protection as I walk, as I wake, as I move through this world. And that's another thing that you can do as you close out your energy. You'll snuff out the candles, the offering, which again, I will have ladled up a cup of that cider that I've been simmering all day. Remember, the next day, you're going to want to disempower it by holding your dominant hand over it and saying, in the name of, I would say, in the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, I thank this offering for its purpose, and I release it from this reality. Or you can also say, I negate the energy, I release it. It is language around taking away the connection to the spiritual world. And then you can simply dispose of it. Please don't eat it, by the way. If you're putting out something in an offering, you can share in it at the time that you're putting it out. But if something has been left out for an offering, it is meant to be energetically void. And so you shouldn't consume it because it's kind of like, I don't want to say eating spoiled food because it's not. It's that it's supposed to have a completely different broken down energy and you shouldn't eat it. And then you dispose of it. And that's what you can do around Samhain to honor your ancestors, to connect with them. That is a very basic ritual. There are much more in-depth spells that can be done. Please don't do magic you don't know about, meaning that like don't make a ritual to connect with your ancestors or the dead the very first magic that you ever do. It's okay to make the gesture to start smaller, but when you invoke things, when you're calling to things, remember, if you're not properly shielded, it's not the only thing coming towards you. And that's why so much protective work is important to do. If you have a difficult history with your ancestors, if you're like, no, everyone I know, they had all sorts of issues, there's all kinds of abuse, then make it from the ancestors of your energy if you don't wish to communicate with the ancestors of the blood. But try to remember that if those who came before you have passed on, it really is their divine self that remains and the divine self that you're dealing with, unless they have become disincarnate, which in this particular ritual, they would not be able to answer to that anyway. The same thing with disempowering and deactivating the contents of a simmer pot is what you would do. You would bless, empower, and deactivate or disempower that, and then you would dispose of it as well. Now, if you have been making like mulled wine or cider or anything else that you're like, no, I decided to make chicken soup because it's healing. And you can do that. You can make a form of favorite food for your ancestors as well. You can actually consume it. The simmer pot is not the same thing as the offering. It is to imbue the space around you with the energy that you are trying to create. All right, everybody. That was a very, I'm not going to say basic because it was a little bit in depth, but it's a very approachable way to connect on Samhain, on All Hallows, on Halloween. Again, Dia de los Muertos has its own traditions, but they're all very much based around the same thing of contacting your ancestors. If you are of a mind to attempt a seance around Halloween, please put into practice all of the protective steps in order to make sure that you're in as clear a space as possible and then clear afterwards. Use a clearing spray, use sound bowls. They can just be on YouTube. Clear your space after you open it up to energies that are not meant to dwell in this realm on a permanent basis, and it will simply give you better results. I hope you enjoyed that. That's what you can do on All Hallows, Samhain, or Halloween. Take care. Be well. If you need me for anything, you can find me at therisingmoon.com. You can book me for a tarot card reading or a life coaching session. My YouTube channel, where there's always a video of these episodes, is Cronecast at the Rising Moon. And again, I'm always here on Logical Magic, examining esoterica. Thanks so much for joining me.